Back on Josh and Swain. Thanks for being with us. We're halfway home, 90 minutes until Tyler and Will take over coming up at 3 o'clock. We continue on 99.1 The Sports Animal, as well as The Sports Monster up in the Tri-Cities. And in East Tennessee, there has been a lot of dancing over what's happened down in Tuscaloosa the last 7 or 8 days. I'm guessing the same applies to down in Louisiana and Baton Rouge, where we go to now. Matt Moscona joins us, ESPN Baton Rouge every day. Matt, good to see you. Am I right in that? A lot of celebrating down in your part of the country with the news of Nick Saban and what's gone on at Alabama.
The smile has been permanently affixed to my face for 8 days now. And you know what, guys? I don't really give a fuzzy rat's behind if any Alabama fan wants to try to throw darts and say, well, Nick Saban made you, or it's so pitiful you can't celebrate. No. For 17 years, you have all rubbed everyone's face in the fact that you had the greatest coach of all time. We understood it. We took our wins when we could get them. We celebrated them. We understood and respected his greatness. And I wish Nick nothing but the best. But to all you Bammers out there, all you houndstooth-clad losers, guess what's coming? Payback is a – can I say bitch?
No.
Yeah, yes. You can. No. You can say that on radio. Payback is a B, and it's coming. It is coming full throttle. Because guess what? If you think Kalen DeBoer is the answer, if you think you will even have a modicum of the level of success you've enjoyed over the last 17 years, it is going to be nothing but tears for all of you losers. Get ready, because here it comes. The rest of the college football loving world is going to be as insufferable to you as you all have been for the last 17 years.
Wow. I don't know if I've reacted that way, but I definitely feel the same way you feel, my man Matt. Walk us through the reaction.
Do LSU fans have a right to be the most affected by this because of the Saban effect? I get it. Y'all got your third Saturday in October, whatever. But you forget, Saban was here, man. Yeah. Saban was here. He won a title here. He left to go to the NFL, and everybody understood and respected that. But on January 1st, 2007, when he took the Alabama job, everything changed, and then he became your biggest obstacle and the greatest team LSU had ever had in their program's history up to that point in 2011. Bama got a redo it didn't deserve after LSU won in Tuscaloosa, and you had to lose in the Superdome in embarrassing fashion to your former coach. And January 9th, 2012 is like the day that will live in infamy. Mention that date to any LSU fan, they know what it is. So, yeah, there's probably, as much as Tennessee and Auburn may feel it, there's probably no fan base more affected by Saban having been in Alabama and now him leaving.
Matt, you were on air when news broke. Chris Lowe, ESPN, broke the news that Nick Saban was retiring. What was the reaction of your listeners, your fans, your viewers? Walk us through that.
I don't know, and I don't care. Swain, I don't care what their reaction was. Probably the same as mine. I was live on air. My eyes got, you know that cartoon where the cat, like the eyes bug out like saucers? Yeah. My eyes got that big when I read Chris Lowe's tweet, and I interrupted a guest mid-sentence, and I danced around the studio for 8 minutes. You can find it. Just go search my name. You'll find it. It's there. But, how could it be anything else, man? It's been 17 years. It's a 17-year nightmare that you keep reliving. So when it finally ends and you know it's over unequivocally, yeah, you're going to celebrate. It's like when the Iraqis pulled down the statue of Saddam Hussein. I mean, yeah, that's what this feels like right now. Like the king is dead. The dictator has died. We have freedom. It's over. The long nightmare is over. Yes. I'm not telling you LSU is going to go win 6 titles in 10 years. I don't care. I just know that it's not going to – the oppression, the oppression, all of the pain and the agony that you've had to live with and stare at for 17 years is over. So, yeah, I don't care. I don't care what anybody else says, Swain. I'm sure they feel the same way I do.
Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge. So you're not afraid of Kalen DeBoer being the next big thing at Alabama?
I think Kalen DeBoer is a great coach. I think he's a great coach. I had Washington beating Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. I had Washington beating Texas in the Sugar Bowl because I think Kalen DeBoer is a great coach. but he is not Nick Saban.
There it is.
Nick Saban is the greatest coach in the history of the sport we all love, and he is gone. And Kalen DeBoer may be great, and he may win a national championship at Alabama. But there's a big difference between being really good and even championship level over an amount of time and being Nick Saban. Yo, Nick Saban spent, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but like every stat that people say about Saban sounds more ridiculous than the next. But this is the one that for me is the most absurd. Nick Saban coached 17 years, 17 seasons at Alabama. He lost 18 SEC games. In 17 years, he lost 18 league games. There is a snowball's chance in hell that Kalen DeBoer ever even approaches that number. So, no, I'm not afraid of Kalen DeBoer being the next great thing. Bama's got resources, and they'll get players, and they'll win games. He might even win a championship. But it is not going to be the same thing. It cannot be the same thing.
It ain't Nick Saban. Matt Moscona, 104.5, Baton Rouge, on with us. Lance Hurd, the once five-star tackle, a freshman from LSU, hit the portal, Tennessee, and Hurd looks to be getting hot and heavy a little bit. What can you tell us about his time there at LSU, what kind of player he was for the Tigers?
Yeah, man. I mean, Lance Hurd was 5-star coming out of Neville in North Louisiana, and he was on the same team as Will Campbell, who's LSU's starting left tackle. They were high school teammates, which is crazy. But Hurd came down here thinking he was going to compete for and win a job as a freshman, and they gave him a look in fall camp. They looked at starting Hurd at right tackle and moving Emory Jones to right guard. But ultimately, they decided that they had their best 5 on the field, and Hurd kind of became the 6th guy that would rotate in. He's a talented guy. I mean, he is a monster. He's a big, old dude that's got good feet. He can play tackle, and he's physical enough to be a good run blocker if they need to play him on the inside. But he was a backup this year, and with 4 of LSU's 5 starters returning next year, he likely was in line to be a backup. But guys, I mean, this was an NIL deal. LSU's collective paid Lance coming out of Neville. He wanted a significantly higher sum for year 2, and they couldn't justify the number, considering he was going to be a backup again. So he went into the portal and is seeking a better opportunity. And guys, I don't mean that in any way to be a knock on him or Tennessee or LSU for not paying or whatever. It's just that's the culture of it, and I respect any guy if your objective is go get paid, and someone's going to pay you, go get it, man. And if you have someone who's willing to fork it out. But if Tennessee gets Lance Hurd, they got a really good player. He is a starting caliber player in the SEC now. He just was at a spot at LSU where you had bookend tackles that were returning starters and a couple other guys that had been 3-year starters already on the line.
Yeah, you mentioned his talent, his overall talent. So what is the on-field potential, do you think, right now for Hurd, and then over the next couple of years? What did LSU think he could become as an offensive tackle?
Yeah, I don't doubt at all that, if Will Campbell and Emory Jones weren't there, he would have been a starting tackle on either side of the line as a true freshman. He is a really good prospect. I mean, there was a reason he was a 5-star, and he is you can project him as an NFL offensive lineman. He is a really good player. So if Tennessee gets him, I would be really surprised if he's not starting at one. I don't know what Tennessee's line looks like next year, who you have coming back, but I'd be really surprised if he's not starting in one of the tackle spots. I mean, he is a giant physical dude, and he's the kind of guy that, even as a freshman in fall camp, because crazy, y'all, Brian Kelly actually let us go watch practice. We could watch full practices and stuff. I mean, he's the guy that would start fights with defensive linemen just because he'd play through the whistle. I mean, he is when you look at the prototypical big, nasty, physical offensive lineman, he's that guy. He's huge and he's athletic. I get why he was a 5-star, and it sucks that LSU lost him, but it's just a different day in college football, and every team is going to lose players they don't want to lose in a given year for playing time, NIL, transfer portal, whatever reasons it may be for that player individually. So, yeah, if Tennessee gets hurt, they're getting a immediate starting caliber offensive lineman.
How would you describe, ranked, how would you look at LSU's collectives versus some of the other programs in the SEC?
Well, it's interesting, Swain, because these aren't 501c3s, because these are all private entities, not affiliated formally with the university, they don't have to disclose earnings or revenue or anything like that. So, I mean, the way that it's been described to me, and I also think it's really interesting that the deeper we get into this NIL world, initially it was kind of like all of the collectives were kind of being secretive with each other. But as everyone has continued to have to fundraise and feel like you're fundraising against other collectives, I think everyone is looking at each other almost like that Spider-Man meme. You know, everybody's pointing at each other.
Yeah.
It feels like everybody's got a gun and they're just like, everybody wants to put their guns down, but you can't be the first to do it, right? Like you can't say, we're going to stop paying players at this rate and hopefully you follow, because you can't be the one that moves first. Everyone has to collectively do it. So I think what's happened is you're starting to have more of a free-flowing sharing of information among collectives, because they're all kind of tired of having to fundraise at this pace. Long way to get to the answer of your question. The way it was described to me is that there's probably about a dozen or so collectives in the country that are outpacing everybody. And then there's a group of about 30 that are all kind of right in the same ballpark. And then there's the have-nots. LSU's in that 30, not in the top dozen, 15 or so, but that next tier where it's all kind of ambiguous. That's where LSU resides right now. But I think the bigger question isn't necessarily how much you raise, it's how you allocate your funds. For example, everyone's super impressed with Ole Miss. And should be. Ole Miss and LSU have raised just about the same amount of money. The gigantic difference is Ole Miss is allocating nearly 100% of their resources to the transfer portal. They are not paying high school athletes. They are paying only players out of the portal, which is why they're crushing it out of the portal. Also probably why Quinshon Judkins left. So I think that's maybe the bigger thing is how you're seeing resources allocated. Year one, LSU's collective gave everybody on the team the same amount of money. Year two, under Brian Kelly, I should say. Year two, this past year, it was more merit-based. And I think you're continuing to see that evolution. I don't know. That was a long, long answer. I don't know if I answered your question.
That was great.
Hey, before we let you go, Matt, is there any kind of Brian Kelly Michigan watch? Michigan still has a head coach in Jim Harbaugh, but you know about the anticipation up there in Ann Arbor for him to jump to the NFL. What's the talk in Baton Rouge over that, with Brian Kelly's name at least coming up when Michigan's job comes up?
Yes, well, Dennis Dodd had a piece today where he listed potential candidates for Michigan, and he had Brian Kelly on that list as right behind Sharon Moore, the offensive coordinator there at Michigan. I created a bit of a kerfuffle a few weeks ago because I said on a social media live stream that I thought if Brian Kelly is offered the Michigan job, he would take it. I do believe that, by the way. I'm not backing off of that. I think if Michigan offers the job, he'd take it. He coached college for 20 years in the state of Michigan. He spent his whole career in the Midwest. Michigan is the winningest program in the history of college football. They've been to 3 straight playoffs, and they just won the national championship. Like, there aren't many jobs in the country better than LSU. Michigan's probably one of them. So anyway, and I think everybody has a dream job, dream scenario, whatever. So yeah, I mean, I could see that if they offer what I don't know at all, like whatsoever. Number one, I have no idea if Jim Harbaugh is leaving. And I mean, I can read all the same things we all do, right? And then number two, I have no idea at all if Michigan would have any interest in Brian Kelly. Like, is a 62-year-old Brian Kelly the most attractive candidate for Michigan at this point? Maybe not. He's got tons of skins on the wall. I mean, he took Notre Dame to the playoff a couple times, played for a BCS national championship. He's a proven winner, all that stuff. So I understand why Brian Kelly's appealing. It's why LSU was willing to give him a 10-year, $100 million contract, right? But I don't know what the interest level would be on that side. But, guys, I almost feel like anyone other than, well, Nick's retired, but Kirby, maybe Dabo. I feel like if Michigan came calling, darn near any coach in the country would take that job.
That's crazy.
Especially with where that program is right now. They just won a title. So you'd have to replace Harbaugh, but you'd inherit a program that is attractive for so many reasons. Matt, we have to run. But Swain, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and book Matt for either Thursday, April 11th or Friday, April 12th. Tennessee LSU, big baseball series in Knoxville. So, Matt, we can figure out a time, but I'd like to go ahead and book you for the show again if you don't mind.
I'll bring my broom.
Payback time, Matt. We coming. We coming.
I'll bring my broom, Swain.
Okay, I'll bring the dustpan.
Matt Moscona, ESPN Baton Rouge. Thank you as always, Matt.
All right, guys.